The final season of Game of Thrones was a disaster, and it disappointed so many people, to the point where a lot of the sequels or prequels or side projects associated with Game of Thrones ended up getting canceled. But one thing that did survive the slashing of all things Game of Thrones was House of the Dragon, something that's based off Fire and Blood, written by George R.R. Martin, a prequel to what we see in A Song of Ice and Fire. There are some fans who are still holding out hope that this could potentially be another great series that brings the audience back. But unfortunately, the showrunners are already proving where their priorities lie while making this series. Showrunner for Game of Thrones spinoff House of the Dragon says House Valerian race swapped to avoid putting, quote, another bunch of white people on the screen. Well, my advice for anyone in Hollywood or in the entertainment industry, if you want to avoid putting a bunch of white people on screen, maybe choose to adapt things that aren't about a bunch of white people. That would be a great place to start. If that's truly what your priority is, then why do you continue to adapt things that are just exactly that? But then you decide that you need to put your identity politics spin on it. We've seen it over and over again, and once again, it's happening with Game of Thrones. According to Ryan Condal, one of the two co-showrunners for HBO's soon-to-premiere Game of Thrones spin-off series, House of the Dragons, the decision to race swap the members of House Valerian was done in order to avoid featuring, quote, another bunch of white people on screen. And this is not an example of, oh, well, people just assume they're white. No, they were described. They have physical characteristics that were described, all of these different people. Yet they're going to ignore that in order to promote diversity and inclusion, despite the fact that it goes contrary to everything in the source material they're pulling from. And considering George R.R. Martin has been under fire for the lack of diversity in Song of Ice and Fire, it's not a surprise that he's probably completely okay with this virtue signaling to get people off of his back. Making their first proper appearance in the second novel of George R.R. Martin's A Song of Ice and Fire series, A Clash of Kings, House of Valerian of Driftmark are said to be the oldest of the Targaryen allies, finding themselves united in their dealings in Westeros by the shared Valerian ancestry. Given this shared heritage in Martin's original novels, the members of House Valerian are described as physically resembling their dragon rider counterparts and are said to traditionally bear pale skin, golden silk-like hair, and purple eyes so striking that, as seen in A Feast for Crows, even Cersei finds herself captivated by their deaths. However, with their casting of all these different people as the various members of House Valerian in the upcoming spin-off series, Condal and his co-runner, Miguel Sapochnik, have inverted the family's appearance, replete with the swap of the lineage's hair color from gold to silver to depict them instead as a wealthy clan of black nobles. Speaking to the decision during a recent interview with Entertainment Weekly, Condal explained that House Valerian was explicitly race-swapped because, quote, it was very important for Miguel and I to create a show that was not another bunch of white people on the screen. We wanted to find a way to put diversity in the show, but we didn't want to do it in a way that felt like it was an afterthought or worse, tokenism. So you wanted to avoid it feeling like tokenism, so you decided to take characters that were explicitly described as pale skin, and because you wanted to make sure there was diversity, you made them black. I don't know why you don't think that's tokenism, but there you have it. And again, I will reiterate, if you want to do that, then you should absolutely go find these stories to adapt that make sense with what you want to do. But time and time again, we see them adapting things and race swapping these characters, and it only ever happens one way. We don't see some African folklore where we just change all of the people to white because we don't want to just have a bunch of black people on screen. I don't see that happening in current day Hollywood. It only happens in one specific direction. Condal further asserted the idea to depict House Valerian as black was inspired by Martin's own admission he'd thought about a similar concept during the development of his fantasy intrigue series. Once we had that idea, it just felt like everything fell into place. Keep in mind, they're talking about what George R.R. Martin said in a vlog where he said, I thought about making these people black, but then I realized that would be really fucked up to do. Martin recalled, right from the start, I wanted the Targaryens, and by extension the Valerians, from whom they were descended, to be a race apart, with distinctive features that set them apart from the rest of Westeros and helped explain their obsession with purity of blood. To do this, I made the conventional high fantasy choice: silver gold hair, purple violet eyes, fine chiseled aristocratic features. That worked well enough, at least in the books, but in recent years, after he gets called a racist for not having enough black people in his books, it's occurred to me that might have made an interesting twist if I had made the Dragon Lords and therefore the Targaryens black. So he's not even saying he originally thought about that. What he's saying is in recent years, after all of this writing, he thought, I wonder if I had made those people black, would that get all these people off my back? Maybe I could have kept the silver hair too. No, that comes too close to dark elf territory, but still, if I'd had dark-skinned Dragon Lords invade and conquer a dominantly and largely white Westeros, though that choice would have brought its own perils. The Targaryens have not been heroic after all. Some of them have been monsters, madmen, so well, it's all moot. The idea came to me 20 years too late. Well, it's not too late for the people adapting this to make sure they don't put a bunch of white people on the screen, despite the fact that it goes contrary to the source material they're adapting. Pretty on point for current day Hollywood. Let me know your thoughts in the comments below. Smash a like button, subscribe to the channel, ring the bell for notifications, share this video out there, and I'll talk to you later.
Thanks for watching, everyone, and a huge shout out to my patrons. I appreciate you guys so much. Want to follow me on Twitter or Instagram? Check out the description below. You'll find links to my P.O. box and my Patreon as well. And I'll talk to you guys later.